These are going to be 8 essential knots that you need to learn. Throughout this video, I'm going to be demonstrating from 2 camera angles how to tie these knots. So why don't you just sit back, grab a piece of rope, and start tying some knots with me. Let's get started. What I've done with this rope here is I've kind of crocheted it all together. So I'm just going to show you how you take it apart. You pop down to the end here, loop there, okay? Now that's just a bite, okay? Okay, and you see that just kind of slowly comes undone. Okay, the first knot I want to show you is called the Bowline knot. This is probably my number 8. It's extremely important to know, and I've used it countless occasions. I've used it in boating, camping, you name it. I've probably used it in all my situations that I've been in. I'm going to show you what this knot looks like. Okay? My tail end is in my right hand, okay? My first step is going to be to cross it over like so. Then with your tail end, you're going to go through the loop, okay? See that? I'm just going to pop it there. Okay, and then it's getting a bit confusing now, but that's okay. We just chuck it right back through that loop. Pull that tight. That is the bowline knot, right there. Okay, so with your rope, you're going to cross it over, okay? Cross it like that. Now this is where it might be a bit tricky for beginners, because this is not actually the loop that you're going to put around the tree. The loop is actually going to be the tail end here. So we're going to take that around the tree, and you want to go through your loop. Like so. And then you just want to follow it around, back through your loop, pull it tight, and there you go. Knot number 7 is called the Alpine Butterfly Loop. I have tied a knot called the Alpine Butterfly Knot in some of my shorts that I've created, and I don't think I've ever used it before, but this knot is actually very similar, but it's just a bit different. I'm going to show you why in a second. Alright, so this knot doesn't really need to be tied around anything particularly. You're actually just, as the name says, creating a loop. So, with your rope, okay, you're going to give yourself plenty of end, okay, and you're going to cross it across your hand like that. Okay, now you're going to wrap it around, okay, like that. You're going to go back across. Now you're going to grab that loop at the top, okay, you're going to circle that over. Then it's going to go under, and you can see it's there. That is the Alpine Butterfly Loop. It is so simple. That's what the knot looks like, and usually you can just chuck it onto ropes like that, and you can hang things from it, like a lantern or a bag. I'm going to show you now from a different angle. Do your hand flat out, like so. You're going to bring your rope around the top, behind, and cross back over. Front view, back view, okay? So you got to cross here behind your hand, you got to cross in front. Now, so you grab that loop at the top, you're going to put it over the top, you're going to grab these, pull those, you're going to grab your loop again from the top of your hand. That was from the top of your hand, and you're going to pull that through. There you go. Alpine Butterfly Loop. Now I'm going to introduce you to the most simple knot that's ever been devised and invented by man, or human. It is called the figure of 8 knot. You're going to need an end of rope, like so, cross behind, cross in front, go back through that loop you created at the top, pull it tight, voila! That's a figure of 8, that's literally all it is. Now there are some extensions, there's figure 8 loops where you kind of go back around, there's double figure 8s where you go back around like 4 times. This is probably the most basic stopper knot you can tie. There are obviously some easier ones, but this is probably the most basic and effective stopper knot you can tie. I use this on boats. That's pretty much it, actually. So you're going to fall in behind it. You're going to grab it, and you're going to kind of roll around it. Now you're going to go behind it again. You're going to go through. You're going to pull that tight. Figure 8 knot. All right, number 5 is the double fisherman's knot. It's a bit of a show-off knot. It does the same thing as reef knot, carrack bends. It looks cool and it's practical, and it also does that. So I'm going to show you how to tie it. This one is kind of hard to tie in the air because it's kind of complicated, but it's also very simple at the same time. It's 2 fisherman knots, which kind of makes sense. Double fisherman's knot, the name of the knot. I'm just going to cross these over like that. See how they've across each other. Now this one's going to go under, over, under. Okay, and there's a loop there, so I'm going to feed it back through that loop. There's a loop there, so I'm going to feed it back through that loop. Pull that tight. There you go. It's the same for the other side, so it's going to be under, over, under, one loop, like that, two loops. There we go, and that is a double fisherman's knot. So once you tighten those, you can just pull those tight and they'll hold. Now the double fisherman's knot looks complicated, but it's actually rather simple. All you need to do is go online, have a look at how to tie a fisherman's knot, and then if you can kind of comprehend tying it through another piece of rope, you got yourself a good fisherman's knot, to be honest. Now the next knot I'm going to show you is called a reef knot. It's exactly the same as a double fisherman's knot, but it's a lot more simple. It does the same thing. It's not as cool, but it works. I'm going to show you how to tie it. Now this one is actually quite a breeze to tie, so I'm going to show you how to tie it in front of you. So you've got two ends of rope. Contrasting colors works quite well, so you can see what you're doing. You're going to make one of those kind of loops. Pretty much the same stuff that you do with the shoelaces. And then you're going to do that again. There you go. That's a reef knot there. Got two ropes. You're going to go right over left like that and under. And then you're also going to go right over left again and under. Pull that tight. Reef knot. Now number 3, it's not a knot that I use very often, but it's used by a lot of mountaineers. It's used on a lot of mountains. It's called a prusik knot. Hypothetically, you got a rope going up the side of a mountain or side of a cliff. You can tie a prusik knot to that rope, and then you can attach the other end of that prusik knot to yourself. I've used this a couple times for making ladders and stuff as safety harnesses. But I think it's generally a mountaineering knot. We're going to start off with our trusty old reef knot that we just learned. Okay, we're going to go left over right, and then left over right, or right over left, and right over left again. There you go, you got one of those. Now, if I step back, you'll see now that I've got a massive loop of rope. Now that's going to be useful because that's pretty much what you tie a prusik knot to. You can fasten one of these ends to yourself, like this end. You can fasten that to a belt or a harness of any sort. But I'm going to show you actually how to tie the actual prusik bit of the knot. Okay. Wrap it around once like that. Then we're going to go around again. And you're going to feed that through that gap in the middle. The key to this knot is to keeping it tidy. Is to keep it tidy. Like so. We've gone around twice now. We're going to do that one more time. So we're just going to shove that through that gap. Keep it tidy. Tighten that up. There you go. That's a prusik knot right there. Now this knot is quite cool. Mainly because of this. Now, you can move it around along this rope, which is why it's good for mountaineering, because you can just kind of slide it up and down the ropes that you're climbing up and down, right? To move it, you actually have to push the knot. But if you fall all of a sudden, check it out. It will kind of break your fall, more or less. Now, the tighter the knot is, generally the better. Let's begin. There you go, that's the first step. And pretty much, we're just going to keep going around. We're going to feed that through there. Keeping it tidy is key. We're going to go around one more time. Keep that in the center. Keep building it up in the center, okay? Don't go over to the outside. Get that nice and tidy, and there you go. Jam knot. Number 2 is the Canadian jam knot. I'm going to be showing you how to do it. This knot you probably have to tie around a tree. There's really no other way of doing it. Or you could tie it around gear, or I've used it to tie up tarpaulins. The Canadian jam knot is kind of a tightening knot. So once you tie it, you can pull on it and it will slowly tighten and then it will hold. That's why it's called the jam knot, because it jams. And I guess it was invented in Canada. So let's get started. Now this knot's actually pretty easy to tie. It's pretty basic, to be honest. You just want to start off tying a little knot like that. Okay? Towards the end of your rope. Towards it. Doesn't really matter, but towards the end of the rope. Now you want to tie another one of those knots a little bit further down. This one you want to leave loose, okay? You want to leave that one kind of loose. Now, loop it around your gear or your tree or whatever. What I'm going to be doing is obviously looping it around a tree. So I'm going to have to kind of expand that, because I'm going to have to get all of that rope through this gap. See if I can do that. Yep. Now that all your rope has actually gone through the second loop here, you can pull that tight. And you can start pulling on that, okay? And that will tighten, okay? Now with your rope, you want to tie a small, little knot at the top. It's going to look just like that. It's a little pretzel knot. That's going to be relatively close to the top. Now you're going to do the same thing, okay? You're going to do that a little bit further down. Wrap it around the tree. Easy enough, sort of stuff like that. Keep that loose so you've got a little bit of a hole. Thread that rope through there, okay? Now you're going to need to pull all of that end out, and that might take a minute. There, okay. See, now we've threaded it all through, so we can pull that tight, okay? Now you got your end here, okay? You can just let that kind of dangle. That's going to be around your tree or your gear or whatever you're tying this knot to, okay? And you can just start pulling that tight, okay? Now, watch closely, okay, to this bit right here when I pull that, okay? You see how it's like slowly constricting? Just watch very closely. Watch that, see? So that is slowly going to start tightening and tightening and tightening. And that's what this stopper knot here is for, okay? Because that is going to get sucked all the way in there. I don't want to use that word, sucked, but that's the word I'm going to use, okay? That's going to get sucked all the way there, and it's going to stop there. Because that's another form of a stopper knot. I've saved the best knot for last. Number one is a clove hitch. The clove hitch can be a hitch, it can be a knot. A knot ties two pieces of rope together. A hitch ties a knot on another object, like a tree. A clove hitch can be both. I'm going to demonstrate why. But first, I'm going to be showing you how to tie one. So you're going to cross it over itself like that, and then in the last gap, you're going to bring it through like that. There you go, that's a clove hitch. Hypothetically, you'd be tying this to like a handrail or a tree or something like that. The cross, okay, you're going to cross over like that, and then you're going to feed it back through. Clove hitch there. Now a way that it can actually be a proper knot is by tying it on your hand, across, under, like so. So keeping that loop in there, you're going to go through, cross, over, and through, underneath, like that. Very confusing actually, but you pull that side tight and then you can pull the other one tight, and that's how it doubles down as a knot, okay? So it's pretty much just two clove hitches. It's not the tidiest knot, it's not the prettiest knot, but it counts. So there you go. If you're wondering how it can be a stopper knot, okay? Simple, I'll show you. You're gonna tie a clove hitch. Okay, you're going to take it off your hand, you're going to pull that tight, and look what you got. Stopper knot. So it can kind of be all three categories that a knot needs to be. It either needs to be a hitch, a knot, or a stopper knot, and it kind of covers all three, so it's a very useful knot to know. Those are my top 8 most important to know, good to know how to tie, knots. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Open Outdoors YouTube channel. Next week I'll have another knot tying video coming out, so go check that out.